Hello, and welcome to this brief presentation that looks at the barriers to participation amongst LGBTQ communities, asks you to think about your own inclusive provision and signposts you to resources that might aid your own equity, diversity and inclusive procedures. My name is Helen Madden. I'm Office Manager at Energize Shropshire Telford Wrekin. I also sit on their EDI working group, and I'm a facilitator of the Sand Embrace programme. We'll speak more about that shortly. So, why is it important to be a welcome space for members of the LGBTQ community? It's a well-documented fact, and one promoted by UK Chief Medical Officers, that if physical activity were a drug, we would refer to it as a miracle cure, due to the great many illnesses it can prevent and help treat. Additionally, physical activity has a social value, and in terms of health and mental well-being, benefits in terms of social inclusion. EnergizeSTW are committed to inclusion and removing barriers to physical activity in the county. We signed up to the SAND Covenant in 2023 with a commitment to providing the best possible quality services for older and old LGBTQ people to learn from real life experiences and to undertake training to create meaningful opportunities for LGBT people. We've extended this learning as part of our wider approach to equality, diversity and inclusion, and we have an intention to pass on good practice and signposts using useful resources. The following slides are designed to highlight some of the awareness of a particular barriers that might be faced by LGBTQ people, and as a prompt towards wider discussion and self-assessment. We'll also try and signpost you towards toolkits and other resources. Energize's connection with SAND began with our commitment to sign their covenant, and through that connection we were given access to a library of useful resource. Although SAND itself has now closed, their website remains as a static resource, and their good work continues in the hands of the covenantees. By clicking on the QR code, you'll be taken to their Year 5 evaluation report, which not only talks about the story of the project, its outcomes and learnings, but also calls out to others to make positive change with regard to awareness and inclusion. Equity is a tricky concept, and when introducing this subject, SAND reports that they're met with these common phrases. We treat everyone the same. They thought to be treated equally, so why would they want to be treated differently now? In the same way that we don't assume everyone drinks the same type of coffee, and we ask them individually, we should do that the same for everyone, treat them as individuals. The picture image has been widely used, and it shows in the third image radical and creative thinking, which is needed to remove barriers to benefit all, giving everyone the same experience of the game. Consider, as we go through these videos and slides, what the barriers might exist for LGBTQ people taking part in physical activity in our county or within your own areas of work. What questions should we be asking, and how might we remove those barriers? This tool looks specifically at the wider issues that are faced by older and old LGBTQ people. However, the model can be adapted to any situation where we're considering the wider anxieties of joining in, either in the workplace or a club, and as a result of sexuality and identity. The inner blue circle contains the general anxieties that might be faced by an older person when joining in a new experience, club or activity. The outer comments are those additional barriers that are faced by older and old LGBTQ people, and include such things as mistrust, estrangement, the constant decision to come out, and a feeling of not belonging in what might appear to be a heteronormal environment. You may wish to use a similar tool or ask yourself what might be preventing people from accessing our service or taking part in physical activity, volunteering, or becoming community advocates. Caution and mistrust from historic behaviours, experience and learned conditions can be hard to overcome. What can we each do to build trust and to be seen as an ally? When asking those questions, consider the use of general neutral imagery and language. Avoid heteronormal speech and assumptions. Be confident in challenging unacceptable behaviours. Be an active bystander. Include diversity in your marketing. Consider the language you use. Offer training. Call upon lived experience and use advocates. Treat people as individuals. Create a welcome environment which promotes inclusion by becoming genuine allies. Listen. Be understanding of other people's use of pronouns, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. Create a culture of top-down demonstrations of understanding and support, and make inclusion everyone's responsibility. So, how do we recognise whether we are exclusive or inclusive? All these examples given are different, but some of the results can be the same. Deliberate exclusion. This might be as a result of direct discrimination. The individual may be treated less favourably than others by being denied a particular service. It's a criminal offence, and you should refer also to the Equality Act 2010 for unlawful discrimination based upon protected characteristics. Socially excluded, and this might be in ways that people can be excluded that are not necessarily illegal, but which may be damaging to individuals. Think perhaps of a housing community where people are singled out or not included in events. Not included might come along with phrases like, it never occurred to me that there were older or old LGBT plus people. I never even thought about how to include all. We do not recognise ourselves in the literature or website or images. Being included. When we can actually see ourselves as just being part of a group, we feel accepted, valued and heard, with equal access to opportunities and resource. The following signs are signposts to resources that you might find useful. Embrace and Partners in Care have combined to create a checklist to assist you in your EDI journey. Although designed primarily for social care providers, the checklist is useful, a starting point to consider what you currently offer in terms of EDI and how you might action further development in this area. It's split into categories, and each category deals with several statements. There is space by each statement to enter what is currently in place, describe in detail your evidence that fulfills that statement, or any actions you need to take. At the foot of each category, there is a Think About section with some useful tips and suggestions, and these may give you some additional insight into operations and relationships that perhaps have gone unidentified, or at the very least will ensure a close look at current practice. Birdall's 5 Pillars Moving to Inclusion Toolkit will show you how to create shared values and guide behaviours, how to lead by example and demonstrate commitment, how to address the barriers and develop a positive environment, how to build strong partnerships, and how to effectively communicate your commitment and policies. Follow the link shown to Sport England's research and data pages, and which will give you access to guidance on supporting non-binary and LGBTQ plus people to be active. Additionally, the QR code shown links to the Energize Me Pride in Our Workforce resource, designed to support you in becoming more inclusive and identifying and removing the barriers to physical activity experienced by the LGBTQ+ communities. The resource comes in 2 parts: an introductory guide with tips and recommendations, and secondly, a set of scenario slides that you can work through with colleagues. And here are some other websites that you might want to check out. Stonewall, which represents the LGBTQ community and have helpful resources available. Pride Sports, which provides research into physical activity within LGBTQ+ communities. And UK Coaching, which again has digital duty of care toolkits. Thank you for taking the time to listen to these slides. I hope you found them useful. You may have some questions or reflections on what you've seen, and if so, do please get in touch. We can either help or point you in the direction of someone who can. Finally, I urge you to copy the link to the video attached. It's a short trailer of a larger, hard-hitting and silent video, originally screened as part of LGBT History Month in February 2012. It looks at the real-life experiences and talks of abuse, loneliness, loss of identity, secrecy and fear. It's worth remembering that challenges in modern sensibilities, the law and attitudes do not change a lifetime of previous experience and learned behaviours. This documentary was the inspiration behind the work carried out by SAND and the Embrace project, and it echoes the experiences of older and old LGBTQ+ residents in our own county who've spoken of isolation, alienation, and who can be mistrusting of mainstream institutions. Thank you once again. Goodbye.